get ready to don your nano suit for the 3rd time. Actually, scratch that, it looks pretty tight, so you probably haven't taken it off. Anyway, get ready because Crysis 3 has been announced. And from what we've seen, the 3rd game in Crytek's gorgeous first-person shooter series looks set to raise the bar again in terms of visuals. You're back in New York, and this concrete jungle is now an actual jungle, thanks to the giant nanodome encasing it. But these man-made greenhouses serve a greater purpose than growing good tomatoes, as they've been set up by a shadowy corporation hell-bent on world domination. Really? Didn't we just stop some aliens from doing that already or something? The altered environment requires some new tactics, the most obvious being the bow, which can be used to stealthily take down enemies hiding among the vegetation. We're hoping that these dense forests of trees provide a good counterpoint to Crysis 2's urban sprawl. At the EA showcase in London, we got a chance to chat to the developers about what to expect from this gorgeous-looking sequel.
Here we are for Crysis 3. The game looks absolutely stunning. I felt stressed just watching it. It must have been pretty stressful making it.
Yeah, I mean, Crytek is in general a very ambitious company, which always trying to push the envelope on whatever it is that we do. At the same time, we're also trying to consolidate and get things out fairly quickly and not, work for 5 years on a project. So that adds a lot of pressure to this because we want to make the absolute best Crysis game ever. At the same time, we want to do it within kind of like a reasonable time frame.
The game's set even further on in the future. The jungle's sort of taken over, it's peeking through the cracks. Not just jungle pasted onto walls, but it's a living thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very important for us that it did not feel like, untrimmed hedges in New York City, right? We have an engine which is capable of churning through immense amounts of content. So we want to build into that, and we wanted the architecture to define the rainforest concepts. We came up with these 7 different themes that we explored in the game that each kind of encourage certain types of gameplay and will be good to use if you want to convey certain types of beats in the story, like whether it's a sad beat or an exciting beat or a high-paced or slow-paced beat, right? Then each of these environments will be useful in different ways.
Is it a mostly linear game, or do you get a chance to explore more at parts, or how does it work? Is it almost sandbox?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, there are certainly advantages in having linear sections, and there are certainly advantages in having open sections, right? But the rewards you're going to reap are going to be different. If you want to have a linear section, you do it because you want people to experience something, and you want to make sure that they experience it this way. With open-ended gameplay, figuring out how to approach things and then succeeding in that gives you a completely different reward, which is the sensation that you are in control of the situation and that your brilliant mind is what kind of brought you to, your reward at the end. So we're trying to do both things and take all the upsides that we had in Crysis 1 and Crysis 2 and try to avoid the downsides that we had.
So, in terms of weaponry, more weapons I'd imagine, because it's further on in the future. How's the technology built? Alien weapons a lot more technologically advanced? How does it work?
Well, we don't want to make like a king of weapons, so we don't want to make like alien weapons needs to be much cooler, much better than human weapons. They all have advantages and disadvantages. We're still kind of experimenting with how ammo are supposed to work with the alien weapons, for example. The fact that they connect to your suit changes a little bit how you react to them, because it's kind of like a biological connection you have with these weapons, a little bit like in District 9. The fact that Prophet is infused with all this alien stuff is really, really important and ties into him concluding his arc. I mean, this is kind of like a trilogy after all, right? So we want to kind of wrap up the story of Prophet, and all this, that his ability to do that ties into a higher level goal. We don't want kind of arbitrary design choices in the game that are just because they're cool, they're there. We want to make sure that they all tie into a vision or the setting or the character's development or the conflict, and it needs to have context, right? That's very, very important.
Well, it looks absolutely stunning. I wish you all the best. That's Crysis 3.